Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. We hope your day was filled with powerful possibilities which you recognized and to which you were able to respond with positive results. Today, we welcome the authors and inspiring minds of the upcoming anthology, Courage in Cannabis, envisioned by Dr. Bridget Williams. Dr. Williams is a board-certified family physician and medical director of Green Harvest Health, a medical cannabis clinic in Ohio. We look forward to sharing with you our audience's insights and experiences surrounding this controversial topic. Khadijah Adams is the founder of Khadijah Adams, LLC, DBA Girl Get That Money, a business empowerment and coaching movement. She is a motivational speaker and published author of Rewriting Your Mental Script, 8 Mindsets That Defeat Self-Sabotage. Khadijah is the host of the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, the purpose of which is to share weekly news and updates about minorities in the CBD, cannabis, and hemp industries. Khadijah also hosts Cannabis and Coffee with Khadijah Adams on Clubhouse every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. Today, she is here to share her experience as a contributing author to the anthology, Courage in Cannabis. Welcome, Khadijah.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you, Ida. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we always like to start with, how did you get on this road?
Wow. Well, that's a really good question. So I've been an entrepreneur since 1997 and full-time, making my own way. And I've had an opportunity to be involved in different companies at the very beginning. And so I understood timing and positioning, so that when Colorado decided they wanted to legalize cannabis for recreational consumption, I knew it would change the entire industry. And so I literally sold everything I had except for my computer, my cell phone, my clothes, and my car. And I left Sugar Land, Texas, and drove to Colorado to get in on the industry. And I literally hit the ground running.
Wow. That's an interesting story. So give that audience a little synopsis of what your company does in the cannabis.
Thank you. So I have several companies. The very first company I started in cannabis, I was able to sell. I started Marijuana Investment and Private Retreat in November 2014. I actually sold it in June 2017. After that, I joined C.E. Hutton as a partner, a supermajority investor in the firm. And I'm no longer part of the daily activities, but I am still the vice president. And C.E. Hutton is a business development and management firm located in Denver, Colorado. I left there and started Girl Get That Money in May, because so many women would ask me, how are you able to get investors, in these different companies? How are you getting that money? And I said, well, one of these days I'm going to start a company called Girl Get That Money and really, really teach women how to do just that, right? How to land investors and how to raise capital, how to prepare your business for a capital raise. And then, of course, I also own the Green Street Academy, which is an online educational academy that teaches you the basics of investing in marijuana stocks.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, I like stocks, so I will definitely be at you on that note. So if people want to get involved with any of your programs and companies, how do they connect with you?
Well, they can connect with me on Instagram at Girl Get That Money, Instagram at Khadijah Adams, or they can visit one of my sites. I have khadijahadams.com, thegreenstreetacademy.com, and you must put THE in front. So it's thegreenstreetacademy.com. And then also C.E. Hutton, which is cehutton.com.
All righty, ma'am. Now, the book, Courage in Cannabis.
Yes.
I almost know what your motive was, but tell me your why for being a part of this book.
Well, my why for being, first of all, I believe that everyone has a story and everyone everyone's story is really meant to help someone else, right?
Mhm.
And, when Dr. Williams asked me to be a featured author, to participate and collaborate with other authors in the book, I thought it was an amazing idea. It had never been done in cannabis before. And it was a way to really touch individual people. So I believe that every one of the author's stories will touch even just one person each. We would have done our job.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to be a part of something great. And I believe that she's really onto something with Courage in Cannabis.
Oh, absolutely. And her passion is just over the top with it. When I first met Dr. Bridget, and we started talking about this, she was a little apprehensive, but then, she just said, I'm gonna just go for it. And I'm glad that she did, because just in interviewing everybody, we have learned so much. And so much.
Yeah, she is an amazing woman. And to say she's a medical doctor and also a cannabis doctor, that's amazing in itself, because so many medical doctors won't even look into this industry when they really should.
And it really should, because at the end of the day, you took an oath to care for your patients. And that oath should never be limited.
Absolutely.
Should never be limited. Wow, Khadijah, I'm so glad we finally got this opportunity. I'm definitely looking forward to collaborating with you on stocks, because I think I just bought one, but I'm not sure what's the best to do. And I know you savvy. So we will definitely be talking about some of the stocks that I should be investing in to support the cause, number one, and to get that money, girl.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Well, let me just say, and I'm not a financial advisor nor a broker, but I am an investor. And so I'm happy to share with you, some of the investments that I've made on a private level and also publicly. So I invest in stocks, but I also invest in private placements. And right now I'm really focused on investing in social equity applicants in Arizona, Colorado, Michigan, and also in New Jersey.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of information there that our audience would really like to hear about, whether it's here or on our TV channel. So we will be in touch.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Courage in Cannabis is amazing. I wanted to share my story because there's so many new entrepreneurs out there. And I've seen them come and go already in this industry. And we're all startups, right? We're all startups. It's a newly legalized industry. I've seen people come and go. And I've seen entrepreneurs stop and be stuck. And, as a business empowerment coach, my job is to help them get unstuck, right? And so if sharing my story of losing everything in 2016, literally until I got to $10 in the bank, and being able to come out of that and am now an accredited investor again, I think it's pretty amazing to share with them so that they'll know that they should never give up. Right. That you will have seasons in business, just like you have seasons in life. And it's really all about being able to navigate your way through those seasons successfully, so that you can get past that startup phase into the expansion phase and then development, because we're all wanting to create generational wealth. And I think this industry is the industry just for that.
Yes, I have to agree with you. And one of the things that you said is you lost everything. And most successful people already have it in their mind that I'm going to be committed to doing what I need to do if I have to lose it all to get there.
That's right. That you're absolutely right. And I have to tell you that even though I had all of those obstacles, I never took my eye off the prize. Going through a divorce, losing everything, losing my team, the whole 9 yards, and having to start over from scratch. I could have balled up in a fetal position and I could have blamed everybody. I had to take responsibility and accountability, and I had to, rewrite my mental script and really get started. That's actually where my book came from, Rewriting Your Mental Script, 8 Mindsets That Defeat Self-Sabotage, and many of us do it. And so it's important to be able to identify it.
But like you said just now, you said when we are in a bad situation, like you described, taking our part in it, taking responsibility for the fact that we were there.
That's right.
It had to have something to do with it.
That's right.
And that sometimes is the beginning where you begin to say, oh, okay, it's not anybody else's fault. It's not even my fault, but I will take my responsibility for being there. And from that platform, it's so much easier. And I'm saying this from experience. It's so much easier to say, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath, and somewhere along the line, I am going to start over.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it was eye-opening. It hurt. But I tell you what, when you come through it, though, you come through it learning a lesson. So although I had lost everything, what I learned from that is that there's nothing promised to us. What I also learned is that, choose your associates wisely, because when something happens, you can't literally blame them. You literally have to take accountability because you chose them. And so, whether that's your, you know what I'm saying? Whether that's your business partner, your friend, whether that's your husband or your spouse or whatever, you chose them. And so you have to take responsibility and accountability for it, because people are with us for a reason, season, or lifetime. And it's up to us to determine and to decide which category, which lane we're going to put them in, because associate or an acquaintance or a friend, a friend is forever, right? A lifetime. An associate, there's a reason that you met them. So you got to figure that reason out. And then an acquaintance, seasonal.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Wow, Khadijah. Thank you so much for your wisdom. And I know everybody's going to be feeling it because we feel it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That was awesome.
And we will definitely be following you. And girl, it's on now. Girl, get that money.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Greene is a father, mentor, compassionate community member, and successful entrepreneur who is known to roll up his sleeves to do the grunt work of any endeavor with which he is involved. With ownership of 2 successful startups, Faces International Marketing and Development and the Cleveland School of Cannabis, he has years of experience developing successful teams. As a vice president for the Cleveland School of Cannabis, his role has been crucial in the growth of the student body, partnership development, and community engagement. Kevin has furthered his impact by board participation with organizations such as United Way, Valley Youth House, Lehigh Valley Chamber, and the Community Action Lehigh Valley. He is now part of the soon-to-be-released anthology, Courage in Cannabis, for which he has written the foreword. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Yes, great to have you. Okay, so we'd like to know how all of this got started. What was your passion to getting involved in the cannabis world?
To be honest with you, probably different than most others. I didn't have a passion for the cannabis industry. My background, as you can see from my bio, has been in marketing, advertising, and diversity, equity, and inclusion work for the last going on 11 years. But the way we've always done our work was always, how do we build a bridge between community and business? I felt when I came out of school and got into the workforce that there was just a major disconnect in our world. And I think there was less of a value on community stakeholders and how we did our work with integrity. They now call them B corporations. And create a task designation. So when I found this opportunity was with my other business partner, and I found it when he created the school a couple months before we got involved. What it did for me was it showed me that the cannabis industry provided someone that had no cannabis background an opportunity to use their current skill sets. You know, I know how to build businesses, I know how to market, I know how to advertise, I know how to build relationships, I know how to do community, public-private partnerships, because I worked a lot of clients. I have a lot of clients that are municipalities, large nonprofits, large corporations. I work very, very closely in the community. So I understand the nuances of that and how to, you know, bring people, especially in areas that are taboo or new, and how to change culture in certain areas. So the cannabis industry in this way through education gave me that. So for me, I end up getting a passion for cannabis after actually getting involved in starting the school. Reason being, I don't even want to say think, prior to the Cleveland School of Cannabis and starting my journey in the cannabis industry, I didn't respect the plan. I was just a user of it and I never respected it. And after I started to learn more, I always tell people I use less cannabis now because I use it with purpose. Now, I have a reason and what I'm trying to, what wellness I'm trying to really create for myself. So I've been blessed to been able to transition what I've been doing for so long into the cannabis industry, find a new passion, and truthfully be able to actually chase the passion and actualize the passion that I have been before. I've been working in a diversity, equity, inclusion space, and my work has been very focused around how do I advance the lives, associated economic placement of Black individuals, being an all Black firm. My marketing firm is all Black men. So we've been very focused in that work. And the cannabis industry, how better way to do that than to, you know, right the wrongs in the industry. So, you know, my passion was more than cannabis, but cannabis has given me a platform to make more impact. And truthfully, I believe I was actually doing it in my marketing firm.
Okay. Okay, absolutely. Now, let me just ask you, your school.
Mhm.
Okay. Give us a snippet on some of the things that you teach in your school.
Yeah. So when we started it, it was to fill the gap that we were noticing in education for workforce development. A lot of programs that were out there were very based around, most of obviously we're in California, they were based around like home grow, empowering patients, right? Trying to cut the cost for that. We did an assessment and we noticed that, well, cannabis is coming to the East Coast. And at that point, it was definitely coming to the Midwest, right? And when we noticed that, we said, well, if all the talent is in the West Coast, how do local individuals from those communities get the job? So we lined up our program to be in line with the horticulture side. So we have a cannabis horticulture program. We have an extraction program. We have a CBD and hemp program. We have a medical cannabis and research study program. And then we have a cannabis dispensary program. So that touches the 5 major areas of the cannabis industry, and they're all 150 clock hours with 6 classes that equal up to 25 hours per class.
Wow. I'm impressed.
I appreciate it.
So this is a whole different level of education. No one would have ever thought 20 years ago that there would be a school that would actually teach about cannabis. So,
Tell me about it.
you know, and to be serious about it, you know, this is not a Saturday Night Live joke. This is something real. And yeah.
I love that you said that, because even when we showed it the first time, we kind of played that like little skit, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Everest, like, you want to go to college? Like we did that a lot in the beginning while we were trying to figure out. I won't lie, it's true.
This is just awesome. It's a necessity, because we have said this over and over again during the course of these interviews. We feel like we've been lied to. No one has told us the truth about cannabis, what it can do, what its benefits are. And because it came on the scene rather suddenly for most of us, we didn't know how to accept it. And we didn't know how to accept it because of a lack of education. But by the fact that there is now a school where people can actually learn the different facets of working with this plant that comes out of the ground, that's truly awesome. And the information is for the community. It's not something that's hidden behind, you know, Ivy League walls where there are just dissertations about it. This is research and study that's actually going to come to the people, and the people are ready for it.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are very ready. And we're in an age now where people question judicial systems and the honesty. And more every day, what's done in the dark, so to speak, is coming to the light. And this is one of those things. So if people want to be a part of the school, and how do they connect? What is the process to become a student?
Yeah, definitely. So what we've done, understanding that, Ruth, and I love that you talk about these, the Ivy League towers, right? So a part of developing the program, we said, how do we provide people the most comprehensive education and at the same time provide a conducive program that can get people in the industry fast, because it's moving so fast, right? And you really want to get in there and start to now move your way up and learn more as you continue to go and get that work experience. So what we did was we developed 3 programs that are all tied into the Cleveland School of Cannabis. So our Cleveland School of Cannabis program is our 150-hour clock out program with those educational tracks, right? You can always go directly to csceducation.com. Hit our inbox. We will get you connected with our admissions officer so you can do that intake, right? We want to know what your goals are, where you're trying to go, so that we can provide you as much insight. We've graduated over 700 students with over 60% of them in the industry right now. So we do a very good job with job placement. And the reason why we do that is because we have a career services department and we focus on job placement. Our goal is not enrollment, it's getting people in the industry. You don't do that by just getting people through your doors. It's what they do after they leave. And that's what we pride ourselves on, that integrity for that. So please connect with us. Any social media account, Cleveland School of Cannabis, you'll find us. We're there to guide you, provide as much insight. We want to be a part of your journey. And we believe that's the best way to build this type of relationship through education. The second is our most recent venture is the Harrington Institute, which is partnered with Al Harrington from Viola Brands, which is the largest multi-state operator in cannabis industry that's Black owned. Al Harrington and Viola Brands started over 11 years ago. He named it after his grandmother, Viola. It's very similar to most of our stories. He was a professional athlete, played basketball, never touched cannabis until the end of his career. Because of the stigma and the information, the lack of information, or truthfully, the lies and the wrong information that was provided to us. So when we came together, that focus around that school is really around equity for Black, Latin, and Indigenous populations. How do we provide more access to education? So we're doing a bunch of different things with our sponsorships and the way the programs are set up with a big focus. The Harrington Institute is all about getting Black and brown individuals into the cannabis industry to create more equity around the people that are all ultimately going to be the stakeholders of this industry in the future, because our current industry and many systems are inequitable. So we are making sure that we do our part within that. That again is the Harrington Institute. Again, you can Google that. Go to harringtoninstitute.com. Definitely, again, we have a registration team you connect with and help us guide you through that process. So those 2 entities for us is really a way of how do we combat all the things that are going on? How do we get more access for people? How do we provide guidance, relationships, connections? These are things that students are getting, all through our programs, and we're seeing people leave home for the first time. We're seeing people transition careers. We're seeing people start their own businesses. Our oldest student is 70 years old working in a dispensary, and she was able to capstone a lifetime of fighting for the opportunities that so many more are going to be able to take bigger advantage of. But without her fight through these years, she's able to end the last part of her life the way she wanted to, something that started so long ago for her. So when we see this type of intergenerational communication and partnership and collaboration in a classroom when a person could be 19 to 70, it's just quite amazing what happens, when those things are happening, because I have not been in many spaces where that's really created or facilitated.
Yes. Wow, I'm excited.
Very excited. I'm very intrigued to learn more and to really take in, because I know people are going to listen just the way I'm listening and say, this is so much bigger than I thought it could ever be. I thought it was just, people selling CBD oil. But for the impact within the community, within our community, and others as well, it's huge.
It's
This is, like you
very
said,
huge.
it's an industry. It's not just a business. It is an entire industry. And again, I have to say, there's no way in the world, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that this could even been conceived of, even though there may have been some who recognize the value of this plant. Never could we have conceived of it as becoming an industry that has such potential for so many.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think that's why myself, I never looked into it, because the way it was, and I grew up on the East Coast. So I always used to be, well, that's a California thing. It's not coming here. Like, why am I going to waste my time? Right. That's really what it was. When you're doing your math, I'm like, I got to grow up and figure out what I want to be. And cannabis was not on the list, like, so,
absolutely not.
So with that situation, I was like, we do that for fun over here, but, we got to get real now.
Oh my.
So
What a contrast. What a contrast.
Yeah.
I just said something that's so important too. Things that were done in the dark are now coming to light. And this is one of those things that needs to be in the light. It was
Yeah.
always supposed to be in the light. If
Yeah.
God planted it in the earth, he had a purpose. He knew what it was. He wasn't mistaken. We're just finding out about it, and it's just wonderful to have these conversations.
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful having
it
this
is.
conversation with you. Absolutely fabulous.
Yes, and I will definitely be sending my granddaughter. We just had a conversation last night about her launching her own company. So I will be sending her to you tomorrow.
And you know what I love about that statement is this, right? And Ruth, you kind of say our community. We need to be able to be bold and revolutionary and talk about our community, because in the United States, when we talk about inclusion, it is talked about in these broad contexts, right? Social equity, right? Diversity, right? But the second we start to have conversations around Black, that's when we seem to have a lot of pushback. And I feel if we're not very purposeful in our actions and what we're looking to do, we are not going to see it being benefited. And truthfully, all I have to do is look at the history of that, right? When we look at 1968 and the Civil Rights Movement, that helped out a lot of other communities more than it helped us when we look at the return on investment that comes from that, right? So if I look at the cannabis industry, and we don't start to be very focused on the community, one, that has been disenfranchised the most by the war on drugs. If we don't look at also in the sense of the still lived traumas that we're dealing with, and Ida, when you talk about talking to your granddaughter about it, that's so powerful, because she doesn't know fully the trauma that happened. You've lived through that. You've seen communities going down. You've been a part of that, right? So it is so important for us not only to educate our younger generation, our millennial generation about the opportunities of cannabis. It's so important for us to educate the individuals that live through the most traumatizing time of cannabis, not only to be able to go ahead and have those conversations to help empower the younger generation, but truthfully how they can also help them with their wellness, right? And getting off all these prescription drugs, getting educated and understand the medical properties of this, right? So for me, it's so important to have that type of focus around helping Black lives be able to go and take advantage of this, whether their family has been directly impacted by a war on drugs or not. Because as Black individuals in living in this country, we've been disenfranchised systematically, and we have an opportunity, and we cannot squander that in any types of way. Because when I think about social equity, it's setting up to a place to continue to be inequitable, because there's a lot of programs all over the place, and all we continue to see is the same faces being in the same positions, just like we do in every other industry that we have issues with. So we have to be purposeful, and we have to be direct. And I appreciate the conversation you're having, with her, because I'm sure that's going to empower her in ways that I couldn't, or anyone else could, when it's coming from you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Kevin, you are a blessing to the world, to your community, and we are so grateful that you graced our platform with this important information. And we are so looking forward to being able to have you back more than times than you can probably imagine. Yes, this is really great stuff, and it's important. It's really important.
Critically important. Critically
Yes.
important.
Yes, indeed. So we are looking forward definitely to more collaborations going forward. And like I said, I'm gonna point my granddaughter over to you as early as tomorrow.
Awesome. Give her my email. Tell her to connect with me directly. I'll help her out right away.
Okay, I appreciate that. So thank you so much. And we will be talking very, very soon.
I appreciate you both. Enjoy the holiday, and I'll look forward to our next conversation.
Absolutely.
Dr. Bridget Williams is an established board-certified family physician and the founder and medical director of Green Harvest Health, a medical cannabis clinic located in Pinkerton, Ohio. Green Harvest Health is the only medical cannabis and life coaching office in Ohio. In 2019, Dr. Bridget branched out into developing her own line of CBD products, as well as white labeling and CBD product development for other businesses. When not seeing patients, Dr. Bridget hosts a CBD education series, a holistic wellness series, and is teaching faculty at the Cleveland School of Cannabis. Dr. Williams provides valuable talks on medical cannabis, CBD, life balance, and confidence. Now, we welcome her as the visionary author for the anthology, Courage in Cannabis. Welcome, Dr. Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to see you, Ruth and Ida. I love always hanging out with the two of you. So any chance I get.
Okay.
We love
Look
hanging
at you
out
on
with
that.
you.
Like, yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness, Dr. Bridget.
Whew. What have you done?
What I done did it this time, right? I done
Yes,
did
you
it.
have.
Yes, you have.
Wow, right? Like since and it is it's really special for me because of course Ida, I met you when I was working on my first book and you all invited me to come here and be on your show. And then now I'm about to launch my book. And wow, so much has changed in such a short period of time. And so so seeing the two of you always feels great. So
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. We was just talking about this series of interviews around this book.
yeah.
We see this getting an award.
Oh wow.
This has been so eye-opening
Goodness, yes.
at every level.
Yeah.
And even if you are a person that I don't believe in cannabis, you
Right.
have to take notice to the conversations that has transpired in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Your authors. You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're amazing, amazing people that they really took a leap with me, right? Because I will tell you 100% of them have never even heard of this anthology concept. Like no one knew what I was talking about, right? But I knew that when I first started getting into cannabis, I started jotting down some of these stories because I was just so blown away by what people have experienced in the space. And I had an opportunity to possibly publish it. And everything stopped me because I felt like these are not my stories. I cannot, how do I write someone else's story for them? And it just didn't feel right. And when this opportunity that has come up, I knew I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to give the opportunity for other people to write their own stories in their own words, and have the opportunity to benefit from it themselves. And so how could I not do it? It was, I couldn't sleep. It was just bothering me. And so I finally, took the leap and these people took the leap with me. No idea what I was talking about. I still think they might not, not sure what I'm talking about, but they took the leap. And some of these people I simply met along the way. Some of them I've known for years. So really, it's been an amazing experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just so our audience have a little bit of history, how did you get to this space you're in now?
Sure, absolutely. So I am a family physician by trade. almost 20 years at the Cleveland Clinic, doing family medicine, some occupational medicine. And I got probably a little bit too frustrated a little bit too early. I felt that my patients were asking me for something that I wasn't delivering. They wanted more time, they wanted more personal care. And I was in this factory job, as far as I'm concerned, where I was seeing patients every 15 minutes, right? And basically diagnosis, pill, next, diagnosis, pill, next, right? And if they didn't like the pill, here's another pill, you got side effects, here's one more, next. And it was just this constant revolving door. And I felt like I knew more. I have BS in psychology. I had this desire to really connect with people. And it's hard to do that in 15 minutes, right? And so I had one patient that was angry, 35 years old, wanted to, on 5 blood pressure medications. And he was angry with the medical system. He was angry overall. And I was like, if you want to change it, let's do something about it. Let's get you off of medicine. And I started scheduling patients during my lunch hour and at the very end of the day. So I had an hour with them. And I started digging into who they were, right? How did you get to the diagnosis? What changed in your life? Why did you stop investing in this part of your life? And really started looking at, how do you make life change? How do you, not just motivation, we all do that, New Year's Eve, gonna, do something, you make it a couple weeks if you're lucky, right? And no, determination means you cannot afford to fail. And I'm for each one of these people, I started finding something that they could not part with, that they couldn't afford to fail. Then I started working on diet and exercise. And from there, I was taking started with this first guy off of medications about every 6 to 8 weeks. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? One of those patients mentioned cannabis. I'm a Reagan kid. Nancy said, say no. I believe Nancy, right? And, the frying pan, you put the egg and your brain's frying. Okay, so I was down with all of that, right? And this was a woman who was just cleared, just did chemo and radiation and surgery for breast cancer. She was just diagnosed a diabetic. She was failing horribly at work. She was stressed out, teenage daughter, everything you can imagine going on. And she mentioned cannabis. I always respected my patients. If they mentioned something, I was like, you know what, I'll look into it and I'll give you my medical opinion. So I'm thinking, I'm going to look up this cannabis thing. Blown away. I was like, how do I not know this even existed? Nothing. I knew nothing. So I said, I will follow you. She was making edibles. She was smoking. I was feverishly reading about titration and dosing and scheduling and all. And she was losing weight. Her blood sugars were normalizing. She was sleeping better. Her work performance was improving. Her stress was, just amazingly. So fast forward 15 or so years, cannabis becomes available for medical purposes in Ohio. I jumped on the bandwagon and through a series of looking at opportunities, realizing they did not want me to do, they wanted me to do the 5-minute visit. They didn't even want me to do the 10-minute visit. So I decided to open my own offices. And I also realized what made that time so special was the time I spent with patients. Mm-hmm. So I became a life coach as well and opened up Green Harvest Health. And so our focus is empowerment, education, and empathy, right? So we identify and walk through with those patients through everything that they do to have them utilize cannabis in a way that can change their lives. We're building more integrative services as well so that they realize it's not just cannabis, but it's a lifestyle. So yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And it's true. It's a time stamp on how long you can be with your patients. And we all know we're all individuals. Mm-hmm. Some people they want to get to the meat of the thing and let me go. Other people want to talk. They want you to dig.
And need to talk.
They want you to pull it out of them.
Yes.
They need you to pull it out.
Absolutely. I remember years ago, I had a patient So at the end of the day, and I'm going through my phone calls, God bless her. I call her back and say, oh, how can I help you? She's like, I really just wanted to talk. And I was like, oh my God. First of all, I was like, for real? Like, I'm like bustling and going and whatever. But I was like, she's connected with me in such a way that she literally just called to talk. So of course I sat there and talked to her for a while, right? But I was like, that's who doctors used to be to their patients.
Yes.
That confidant, that connection, that still should exist. That should still be here, and it's not.
Yes, you're
It's
absolutely
interesting.
right.
Yeah.
You in bringing that up, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Gabor Mate, but he works with addiction and trauma and many other things. But he is also a board certified physician, but decided to deal with addiction and that sort of thing. But he said the same thing. He said he asked an audience, there had to be a couple of hundred people in there. How many of you have had your doctor ask you anything about who you are, what you're doing, what's going on in your life? He said there were like 2 people who raised their hands. And he said, you are so blessed, you don't even realize it. Because the rest of us would get the 5 minutes, the 5-minute drill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could never go back to that. I could never.
Oh no.
No, I could never do that.
Our listening audience is hearing your spirit, and your spirit, you actually are a doctor. See, there's a difference between a doctor and someone who has a little frame up on their wall that says that they're a doctor.
Yeah. You know what? A friend of mine told me not that long ago, somewhere we're talking about medicine and, how I got into the space. And he says, you've probably never seen a patient. You only see people. And I was like, right?
Exactly.
And he was like, every patient that you have is a person to you. And you're determined to figure out who they are. And I was like, that's why it was difficult for me, right? Because, despite the outline, the regulations and the regimen of where I was working, I was still determined to have that relationship and have that interaction, because that's what they were asking for. I'm giving people what they're asking for, right? It just so happens that cannabis got involved because of this incredible experience with this one woman, right? And so, but I also realized, along with wanting that type of care, they were also tired of the pharmaceuticals. So that those were going hand in hand at the same time. That they didn't like the diagnosis pill. Here's another pill. You end up with a list of 15 of them. You're trying to tell me there's no interaction with them? Okay, right? Change is hard. Cannabis offered an opportunity, right? Are you there?
Okay, we're here.
You're here, okay. Cannabis offered an opportunity where you don't have liver damage or kidney damage or GI pain and damage, right? That it was offering an opportunity to get off of some of these medications. And that was fascinating to me. And so, and the confusion that people have, the confusion that people have is that if you're using cannabis, you're getting high. We did research in our office, and because of how we operate, we do a lot of education. A great number of our patients have never used cannabis, or it's been remotely. So I think maybe 1/3 of them have never used it. Another 1/3 have not used it in 20, 30, 40 years. Okay. And so this is all brand new to them. And they're not looking to get high. They want relief. They just want to feel better. And so there's ways to use cannabis and never have that heady feeling that a lot of people are uncomfortable with. It's a side effect for some people.
Well, I think if my doctor were to say to me, would you be willing to try cannabis for any number of reasons? I would say yes, especially if it would get me off all the medication.
Absolutely. But see, that education is necessary, right? That You don't necessarily have to be a physician that is prescribing cannabis per se, but you do have to be knowledgeable enough about it to say, you know what, this is the best option for Ruth. This is the best option for I might not want to be involved in it, but that's how we all break out into specialties anyhow, right? That there are certain things that we enjoy working with, that we're comfortable with, that we want to help patients with. There's other things I don't want anything to do with. And so I send them to another specialist. It's okay for a traditional Western medicine physician to say, this is not something I personally want to be involved in, but I know Ruth enough, I know Ida enough to know what they've been through, what they've experienced, and this is something that they should at least look into. And hopefully I'm there to help people, so.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there you go. That's the whole education piece where the doctors need education as well, if they're
Yes.
open to it, so that they
Yes.
can do exactly that. How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
To have
And
your
it's their
laptop?
responsibility. I don't care, just like there are doctors that do not want to prescribe birth control pills, right? That they're just religiously, they're against this, they don't want anything to do with it. But if they know that that's something their patient is interested in, then they send it to the other doctor, next door or whatever.
Right.
And so it shouldn't be about your personal beliefs, but you should be able to respect the patient that says, this is what I want to do. Knowing the patient, knowing that this isn't a bad idea for them. Medically, this is an appropriate idea. It's just not something that doctor wants to do. And then send them to who does do it.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So if people want to get involved with your program and everything that you're doing, how do they connect with you?
Yes. So first of all, my offices are Green Harvest Health, and you can find us at www.greenharvest.health is our website. So instead of a .com, it's a .health. Okay. So that's where you'll find most of our information. People can, I'm happy. I have someone helping me with my emails now. So I'm happy for the emails. Before I was like, but you can always email me at Dr. Bridget at greenharvest.health. And I'm happy to take any questions or what have you. I do CBD and cannabis consultations all over the US. So if you're using it, thinking about using it, need help making decisions, just send me an email or call the office at when you go to our website, and they will get you connected with me to be able to do that. The book we have on Facebook at Courage in Cannabis is our Facebook page, and there'll be more. So we post almost every day with new information about the book and the authors and everything that we're doing along the way as well. So
when can people expect the book?
Yes. So we're finishing up the editing right now. I think our digital copy should be ready around mid-December. And our paperback, after the digital copy, we'll offer pre-orders on the paperback, and that should be ready by the end of December. So definitely worth looking into. And this is a book that can be so informative because it's not just about the patient. It's also that person that has that entrepreneurial spirit. There's great business owners that took huge leaps in courage to be able to decide to get into this, put their hat into the ring, right? But the medical stories are mind-blowing.
Yes.
Yeah. And the courage and people that everyone didn't tell me everything about their story right off the bat. So of course, when I'm reading it, so many people had to really come to terms with their faith and where cannabis would fit into that. And I had to do that as well. I think anyone that has, a strong spirit, should have that conversation, I hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me doing my research, looking in the Bible, doing that work, talking to, my advisors and people that I look up to in my church, what have you, so that I felt comfortable as well. And so, and I have those conversations with people all the time, because some people, they do it because it helps them and they're filled and riddled with guilt, and that is not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back to the thing that, God created it. He knew what he was doing.
God created it. Absolutely. It's in the Bible. There's numerous passages that support that and refer to it. And it literally has been around since the beginning of time. We have played within and manipulated as humans do, but it was always there for medicine.
Yes.
Mhm. Yes. Wow. This has been amazing, Dr. Bridget.
Yes.
You always know I love talking to you. And we are definitely looking forward to following every move you make. And it's important. This is revolutionary, to say the least. You know, and you know, I like I was talking to you before we got on the air about, I was reading how the pharmaceutical companies, if they can't make money on it, then they will do what they can do to ban it.
Mhm. I mean, that's how the whole how we went into prohibition in the first place, really, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
needed to get rid of it if they were going to make money off of synthetics. And why not make it the evil weed, right? You know, you hate to think like that because you want to believe in good things, but you know, money's harsh.
Yes.
Yeah.
People will do anything.
Yes. And
Fill
it's
their pockets.
yes, and that saying, the root of all evil. So if the
Mhm.
person is evil and greed, full of greed, then that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what happens. People
Selfish
suffer.
necessity, but people's greed makes it harsh.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we definitely appreciate you stopping by.
Yes.
And we are ready to definitely bring everybody in so we can round table some more.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bridget.
Wow, wow, wow. I am so, I can't even explain how I'm feeling about this experience with all of you and learning your impact in the cannabis industry. And it is like Ruth was saying, this is huge.
Mhm.
This is absolutely huge. And we know that when people see this, even if they are nayers, they're going to have to listen. They're
Mhm.
going to have to rethink what they're thinking.
And I think there's a story for everybody in this book, right? You know, whether it's your parent or like you said, you're the naysayer, or, you know, there's something for everybody to connect with that this book can offer to help solidify some ideas, to change some minds, to give people the courage to do something they never thought they could do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I like the Kevin's approach as well with the education, you know, the equity, all of that is just so important in the Black community. You know, I mean, no longer do you have to be a drug dealer, so to speak,
Mhm.
where the law is, you know,
Okay.
you ducking the law every 5 minutes.
Right.
Now there's a legitimate way where you can help people and still leave a legacy.
Yeah.
It's most amazing. It will always amaze me in all these conversations that we've had, that the very plant that has put so many people, given so many people a record, a police record, is the same plant that could liberate so many of us.
Wow.
Maybe not all financially, but physically, to be able to not be in pain, to see our relatives not have to suffer
Mhm.
needlessly.
I think that's one of the most really sad things that I see, that for a lot of my older patients, they've resigned to accepting the fact that they live in pain,
Yes.
right? That they've chosen for one reason or another not to use opioids, that, or it doesn't work for them, or it makes them sick, you know, allergies, what have you, that the other options on the market just don't do a thing. And they've decided to live in pain. And that changes your personality, that changes who you are as a person. So the family members are around and they're like, you know, Uncle Joe isn't who he used to be, right? But he's living in a constant state of pain. And this is an option that can resolve that.
Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
I tell you, anyone who listens to this and still has a closed mind after they've listened to all of these interviews, they need to go get the book and sit down and read those stories one at a time, so that they can really see that these are real people who have experienced their experiences with this marvelous plant. It's such a gift. And for so long, we've banned it, lied about it, arrested people behind it, hid from it. It's just, when you just look at the insanity that a little tiny bag of marijuana has caused in one person's hand, the spiraling effect to their family, their friends. Oh, and let's not forget the gossip in the neighborhood. You know, it's crazy.
It really
Only
is.
to find out that that little bag could have saved someone an evening or a day of pain. You just have to look at the to be able to see that. Maybe you have to be as mature as I am and remember when. Kevin was talking about that healing within the community from all of the bad rap.
Trauma. Yeah.
Trauma that it is
It has
caused.
a lot to
One
do
little
with
tiny bag.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the fact that people fail to realize that it is just a plant and it was actually created before we were even created. You know, Genesis 1, verses 12, verses 19, verses 29 and 30, Exodus 30:22. Moses was ordered to put it in prayer oil along with other herbs and things of that nature. You know, but when we go, it all boils down to education, and we don't really go far back like that to do our research. And if we did, then we would realize that this is a plant that is not only for the healing of the nations, but it's the healing of our bodies and of our minds. And, you know, like you said, it helps with pain and all of that. But more importantly, I believe that it also connects people, it brings people together, you know, and I think we have to start, you know, especially for Black people. Back in the day, we used to get all of our instructions from the churches, from, you know, we were told who to vote for and what school to go to and what to do and what not to do. And I think we need to start there. We need to start with the re-education of our religious leaders, sharing with them using their own scriptures on the benefits of cannabis and how it has been here before we've been here, you know, and the purposes of it, you know. And it was man who actually turned it, you know, into this quote unquote bad thing. And it was to disrupt, you know. Most people think that it's just about Harry Anslinger, but what they didn't know is that we were overpopulating back then. We were having 15 and 20 babies and this, that, and the other. And they thought, they literally thought that we were going to take over and the white race was going to be, you know, extinguished. And so he wanted to figure out a way to stop that. And to stop that by, you know, attacking what Black men, Mexican men, Asian men, attaching quote unquote marijuana with it and unsolved crimes. And he knew that if he turned Black and brown people into felons, they won't be able to vote when they get out. It's gonna be hard for them to get a job. When they come home, their wives are not going to understand. The wives are just going to want them to go work. Because see, when they were inside, they had to be the mama and the daddy, right? And so now that they're home, they want them to go work, but they go out to get a job and can't get a job. They come home frustrated. She's frustrated because now you're still not working. And then there's friction in the household. So if you want to disrupt the whole community, you start with the household. And they did a great job at it. I mean, look at it, 80, 90 years we've been lied to. And now to re-educate our communities, it's going to take a lot longer than, you know, since 1996 when it first became medical in California. It's going to take a long time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because the damage has been done in the family unit.
Mhm.
And it's going to take time to heal that and
Going to be
regroup.
a concerted effort. I mean, we're going to have to really be aware. We're going to have to make a conscious effort when we have conversations, because the conversations will come up. We have to be conscious in the way that we speak to people about this. I've learned some things. I have a lot more to learn, but I can be more conscious when I hear people making remarks about it. And I realize that they're coming from an uneducated perspective. You know, I know now where to send them. I have a whole group of people that I can send them to. And Dr. Bridget, you may find your offices are suddenly overwhelmed because people are going to listen to this and want to get in touch with you. Kevin, you too, you're going to maybe be overwhelmed because there are going to be people who hear this that are going to say, oh, wait a minute, there's something I can do that might be beneficial. You know, it's amazing. We are living in times that have been very turbulent. But I always say there have been so many good things that have come out of this. And being able to have this conversation with all of you and then spread it worldwide. Oh,
Yes.
amazing. It's just like, it's time. It's time.
Yes, it is.
What Khadijah said, so true. And I have been thinking about that. The Bible says that God planted a garden. God planted the garden and he put Adam in it. So, just like she was saying, this plant has been around for a long time.
Yeah, before all of us.
Yes, it was, he put, it's just like everything else. We don't stop and think about an apple. You know, they didn't, you know, there are apples everywhere. Every country has some form of apple. No one's bothered to demonize it because some of the seeds have, what is it, arsenic?
Right.
Nobody's doing that. But for some reason, they take this little humble plant and they have demonized it. There are other plants that do different things. Stinging nettle, there are so many plants. But
I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are other plants that have very similar components to what cannabis has, right? I mean, and interact with our endocannabinoid system in very similar ways. The reason why people get coneflower and have echinacea is because it interacts with those same receptors, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why people like their chocolate and eat a little bit every day is because it has molecules that are very similar to THC, which causes the high in cannabis. So that nice, warm, I don't know why I love chocolate so much feeling is because it's hitting those same receptors and doing the same thing. People that are so anti-cannabis are probably utilizing other plants for those same purposes in other ways all the time, right? And they're not aware of how these other plants, the only reason we talk about cannabis is because the cannabinoids are abundant, but we could be having the same conversation about cacao trees and coneflower.
There you go, yes.
We could be having the same conversation and how, oh, chocolate's evil. It might be evil, but you know. Right.
Daily dose of chocolate.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Yes, it is. But you know, people do talk about being chocoholics.
Yeah, I mean, true, very true.
They just can't get enough of it. So it's good for you. There's not too much that is from the earth that is bad for us.
No, it's what we do to it. It's what we do to it, right? So if you take dark chocolate, you're fine. It's when you start making that incredibly rich milk chocolate, things go off balance. So
oh my God, this has just been amazing. And I just want to thank you, Bridget, for the courage to just get the book done and bring all of these amazing people in one binder.
Yeah. And I have to say that I am particularly grateful. I mentioned this to Khadijah on the offset, and she was like, I'm down and I'm going to bring some people to you. and she signed up right away. And, you know, I went to Kevin, and with everything that, you know, he works on as far as the education piece, I wanted him to have that overview and to be able to do a foreword that would really represent not only his unique story, right, but to also represent what he deals with students and people's stories every day, right? And to be able to bring that all together and bring all the authors together in the foreword, I think is, you know, something he did well as well. So yeah, I'm grateful for both of them. And like I said, nobody knew what I was doing. So they're just like, oh, okay. What are you talking about? All right.
And that's only because of you.
Oh.
You know, you're the type of person that you're a people person, and people can feel that. And people can also feel that warmth, that I care. All of that comes out. And people are like, you're doing what? I'm on, girl. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
They don't have a clue about what you're talking about. But because it's you and because of what you project, they just on board. And that's a wonderful gift to have.
No, I appreciate it. I
A
appreciate it.
wonderful gift.
Well, I love the idea that she said that it's never been done in cannabis before, but I'm gonna do it. I was like, yeah, let's
see what happens. This is good.
What happens?
Right.
So,
And this is
Any
great.
last words?
I probably just broke up.
Oh, I said, did you have anything that you wanted to say while we're
Yeah, you
around?
know, yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, as we talked about earlier in the interview, it's you know, the opportunities and the new things and what you're finding out about yourself. Cannabis has been one of those things that I think is not only pushing our culture to move forward, but I think it's pushing people to move forward and grow. And that's a beautiful thing, because, you know, if we don't grow, you know, we're not really going to be able to take advantage of what's new and what's next to come. So I appreciate, you know, obviously what this book is going to do for others to really go ahead and feel empowered to share their story and be able to really not feel that they can't be their authentic selves in a sense, and be proud of that and be disenfranchised about something that is, as Khadijah said, it's been here before us. and at the end of the day, we have an endocannabinoid system, so it's obviously meant for us, right?
Absolutely,
So it's one of those
absolutely.
things. So you know, it's a beautiful process to be a part of, and just looking for the continuation of this journey.
Absolutely. And thank you all for including us, because
Yes.
we had a ball.
Yes, we have.
And we've learned a ton of stuff. And now the interest is peaked. So I want to know more.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure that you get that first copy without a doubt.
All righty now. So
I want to thank Dr. Bridget Williams for allowing me to be a featured author in Courage in Cannabis. I'm excited to read it myself. I can't wait to read everybody else's story.
Well, that's true. Like no one's read all the stories except for myself and you know, our copy readers. So I often forget that because I have this kind of bird's eye view of everything. So I'm really excited for everyone else to dig in and see the rest of the stories.
yes, and the other thing that's it's brought a whole group of people together that didn't know each other.
Yeah.
That are about the same cause. So and that's always a beautiful thing, bringing people together. That's always a beautiful thing. So thank you so much. And I can't wait till the book comes out. I'm already promoting to people that I know, and it's not even arrived yet, but I can't wait.
Yes.
So thank you all for your time, your commitment, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Blessings.
Thank you for having us.
Every one of you.
Thank you.
Talk soon.